Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Arizona's primary is coming up on August 24th, and joining us from Phoenix is Ben Quayle, Republican candidate for Arizona's 3rd Congressional District, the second son of former Vice President Dan Quayle and Marilyn Quayle. Ben joins a crowded GOP field seeking to succeed retiring 8-term Republican John Shadegg. Ben Quayle is a lawyer and managing director of a Scottsdale investment firm. Welcome to Newsmax TV, Ben.
Thank you, Kathleen.
One Democrat, 2 Libertarians, and a Green Party candidate joined you and 9 other Republicans in the race to fill Congressman Shadegg's open seat. What differentiates you from the other candidates?
I believe it's, when you look at the background, my background is that I watched conservative leaders fight for conservative values back in the 80s and the 90s. And now I'm watching a president that's systematically dismantling everything that's great about this country. And I plan to go to Washington and put a stop to that. And for that, I'm going to be having to use both my legal background and my business background, because both of those feed into what needs to be done to improve our country and to stop the Obama agenda going forward into the next decade.
Now, the discourse between you and Paradise Valley Mayor Vernon Parker has become particularly acrimonious lately. He's criticized you for a campaign ad promoting you as a family man, which he claims was misleading because it featured you and 2 young children who are not yours. You and your wife, Tiffany, don't have kids, but the girls are your nieces. Parker stated that you rented a family for the campaign mailers. He's also claimed your reference of him as a national poster boy for the Democratic Party when it comes to unethical politicians was racist. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's unfortunate that Mr. Parker went down that route. We had a mailer that was about my family, and it was a picture of me and my 2 nieces, and they are my family, and we see them all the time, and we love them, and my wife and I are in the inside cover saying that it's me and her and my dog, Louie, and we went into saying, look, you know, when you're looking at my nieces as the big thing here, and that story becomes a national issue, we've got to look at all of the candidates in this race, and Mr. Parker has some serious ethical problems, and that's when we said that he would be a national poster boy for the Democratic Party if he were to win the primary. He took that completely out of context, played the race card from the bottom of the deck. I'm tired of it. The people here in District 3 are tired of it. And I think most of America is tired of the race card being played anytime you have some criticism. I mean, that's exactly what the Obama administration does and his supporters do. So it's really sad that he stooped to that level, but that's kind of where we've gone with the gutter politics in this race right now.
Now, you endorsed Senator John McCain in his primary bid for re-election, but McCain backed one of your rivals in your congressional race. You lead the field in campaign cash. Moving forward, what is your strategy to win?
Well, the biggest thing that we have is a great grassroots organization. We have hundreds of volunteers that are making phone calls, stuffing envelopes. We're going door to door. We're just trying to get in front of as many people as possible in the 3rd Congressional District. I think that that's the way we're going to win this thing, by getting in front of the most people to get our message out there and then get them to the polls. Because right now people are voting, actually, because we had early ballots go out at the end of July. So it's an exciting time, and we think we have the ability to take it across the finish line.
Now, a Republican primary ahead for Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, who took over after Democrat Janet Napolitano left to become Homeland Security Secretary. Brewer, of course, has gained national attention for Arizona's tough new immigration law. How do you see that race shaking out?
Well, I think that Governor Brewer is taking a great stand and standing up for our state and standing up for our laws, because we're just trying to protect the American people, the Arizona people, when the federal government hasn't lived up to its responsibilities. I think that Governor Brewer is going to ride this wave of momentum from the primaries and from our actual dislike for the federal government's mismanagement in the Democratic Party here in the state, not sticking up for Arizona the way that, that Governor Brewer has.
Last week, we interviewed Arizona State Senator Russell Pearce, the chief architect of Arizona's tough immigration law. He cast a recent court ruling on scaling back the law still as a huge win. An appeal is pending, but how do you think this one will play out?
Well, if you look at the ruling, it was an interesting ruling. It kind of went from, it didn't go into actual preemption of the law. It went preemption by way of not enforcing the law, which was a weird sort of judicial philosophy that I didn't understand. So I hope that it will get overturned. I don't know if it'll happen in the Ninth Circuit, but if it doesn't, it goes up to the Supreme Court, and I hope that that ruling gets overturned and SB 1070 is found to be constitutional.
President Obama has pledged 1,200 troops to the border. Homeland Security Secretary Napolitano says the border is as safe as it's ever been. Is it safe enough, and what kind of border strategy do you advocate?
Well, it's kind of funny that Secretary Napolitano is saying that it's as safe as it had ever been, because that's news to the people who live here in Arizona, and that's news to the people who live down at the border, because if you look at the violence that's happening just south of the border and starting to spill over into Arizona and elsewhere, the drug cartel violence is escalating at an exponential rate, and they're getting more sophisticated in their attacks. So to say that the border is safer than it's ever been before is laughable. And what we do need is we need to have a standalone bill in Congress that solely deals with border security and enforcement. That way we can actually attack this at the source. But the other thing that we really need to be looking at is to break up those drug cartels, which are escalating their violence in Mexico and have been targeting our sheriffs and law enforcement officials here in Arizona.
Ben, let's switch gears. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called House members back to Washington from summer recess to act on a $26 billion state aid package that many Republicans are highly critical of. What is your take on the current economic and debt situation that we're in right now, and what should we be doing about it?
Well, our economic situation is occurring because of the initiatives that are coming out of Washington. Right now we have companies that are both large and small sitting there not doing anything because they're uncertain about how their costs are going to increase from Washington. And so instead of actually putting their capital to work, either growing their company or hiring new people, they're sitting on it. And that's the problem that we have. We need to have some pro-growth economic policies. We want to make sure that the Bush tax cuts are extended at the end of this year. We need to cut the corporate tax rate from 35%, which is the second highest in the world. We need to make sure that the healthcare reform bill is repealed and replaced with something that actually works and doesn't kill off our small businesses. And we also need to make sure that card check is not implemented during the lame duck session, which they're currently contemplating. Those sorts of things will actually bring certainty back into the market, and jobs might start being created again by these businesses that are sitting on the sidelines. And from the debt perspective, that's just deferred tax payments. As our debt continues to escalate and our government continues to grow, businesses and individuals are just seeing that their tax payments are going to be going up in the future. So they have to either hoard cash or just not spend as much because they know that their costs are going to go up in the near term and the long term.
Now, you touched upon healthcare reform, and you say that you support repeal. What, if anything, should we replace this Obamacare law with?
Well, I think there are some very common sense answers to this. We need to allow people to buy insurance across state lines so we can get competition going. We need tort reform. We need also to start pushing very robust HSA programs and high deductible plans. That way people actually understand what the costs in their healthcare are. I mean, if you look at some of the companies that have been doing that do self-insurance, their costs have been maintained, they've been going down, and they actually have better coverage and their employees extraordinarily happy with that. Those are the things that we have to do in order to get the healthcare costs down and get access up.
Okay, let's move on to the war in Afghanistan, because voters are starting to express increased ambivalence, supporting it in hopes of success, yet unsure whether it is worth the cost. Are you still firmly behind the war effort?
I am. I think that Afghanistan, we have to look at the broader picture of this. We need to make sure that Afghanistan does not once again become a safe haven for terrorist activities. That's what it was before, and we can never let that happen again. The problem we have is that President Obama has put an artificial deadline of next July. And so a lot of the tribal leaders in Afghanistan are saying, well, we're not going to work with the Americans because they're going to be gone in a year, and the Taliban are just going to flood right back in and slaughter us if we were actually helping the Americans. So they're looking elsewhere for their alliances. We need to make sure that those leaders in Afghanistan are comfortable with America and will help build that area and that country so that it doesn't become a safe haven for terrorist activity.
All right, last question. Your father, the former Vice President Dan Quayle, has recently endorsed a number of candidates seeking office during the midterms. Number one, how are your folks? And number two, what advice have you received from your father about your congressional bid and politics in general?
My folks are doing great. You know, they live here in Phoenix, just in Paradise Valley. So our whole family's here, so they like having all the kids around, so it's great, and the grandkids as well. the thing that my dad always told me, and when I was starting into this thing, he goes, look, you know what, you're going to have a huge target on your back. You're going to get hit from a lot of different angles, and you're going to get attacked. He said, just make sure that you are sticking true to your core values and never apologize for that. He didn't apologize for his values, and he got beat up for it. But you know, at the end of the day, you can look yourself in the mirror and know that you stood for something that was right. And you know, that's what he told me, and that's what I've carried through this campaign.
All right, candidate for Arizona's 3rd Congressional District, Ben Quayle, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.